They're not yet 1 month.
No, these ones have now made a month. But 50%, you can imagine, if it was a higher bloodline, blood percentage, it would be much, much bigger than this. But these are simply humble beginnings.
Hey guys, welcome back to our YouTube channel. In case you're new, please subscribe, hit the like button and press the notification bell so that every time I post a video you'll hear. So this is our part 2 with this video. Please enjoy. So guys, if you didn't watch part 1, please go watch part 1 and this is part 2. So in part 2, as I'm going to tell a farmer or an upcoming farmer or someone wanting to do the same thing, because I know there are a lot of people who want to do this. Some of them are Ugandans in the diaspora, but they are looking for where to invest their money.
Yes.
First of all, would you tell someone to invest their money in goat rearing?
Thank you so much. That's a very, very good question. As I told you, I'm into both crop and animal production, particularly goats. And if you ask me already, I will tell you that if you want to go into farming, I would highly encourage you to come into goat farming. First of all, they're easier to manage compared to crops. For instance, here, these ones, I've actually put 2 people to look after them because I have not yet fenced off the boundaries and the goats like going to the neighbors. But you can have like 200 goats, 150 goats being managed by a single person, you see, which is completely different. If you have cultivated, say, 5 acres of land, you'll need around 4 or 5 people. And one big challenge in the northern part of Uganda is worker turnover. I think because of this era of information technology, most people want to be in towns, they don't want to be in villages, but also people don't want to hold hoes. Maybe we are going to go into eras of mechanization, tractors and so forth. But with these animals, I would really encourage you, if you're out there and you would want to start goat farming, and I'm always telling people that land should not be a challenge. I'm developing some other clips that I'll be sharing where I tell people that try to get, even if they're only 10 acres. 10 acres, you can have a minimum of, now that's just 10 acres.
So let's talk, okay, do you think the minimum someone should start with is 10 acres? Because there's some, like me, if I want to start, I cannot afford 10 acres, of course, but can I really do it at a small scale?
Exactly. Even if you have an acre or 2, you can build a raised goat structure and then you start, rearing goats using the zero grazing approach. That means you can use quarter of an acre to put up a raised goat structure, put the workers, accommodation, and where you're going to put the hay barn, where you're going to put the dry grass as you harvest, or if you also want to do some silage. And then you partition the remaining 1.5 or 1 3/4 of the acre and plant pastures. For instance, if you planted an acre of super nappy,
That's a type of
pasture, an acre, you'll get between 180 to 200 tons.
That will feed them for how long?
Depending on how many.
Depending,
assuming I have 50 goats. So
yes,
goats.
no, depending on the number you have, a goat consumes at least 2 kilograms of
per day
of feed per day. So now you just get 100. Let's say you're going to have some wastage and so forth. Let's say 150 tons. And if you calculate that a goat will take two kilos per day, that is 60 kilos per month. And then how many in a ton of 1,000 kilograms? If you divide by 60, you'll be able to know how many months 1 ton can last. A goat. I don't know if you can just do that simple math, just to get an idea.
Yeah, that's right.
So you realize that even with a smaller piece of land, somebody is able to work to start goat farming quite comfortably. And then, of course, it's important to know that if you're going to do that, say we are talking of, say 1,000.
Divided by 60.
Take it backwards now. 1,000 divided by 60. That one will take you 16 months. If you're feeding 1 goat on 1 ton, it will take you 1 year and how many months? And 4 months. So now, if you have 150, let's say, because we're talking of 150 tons of pasture, if you say 150 50,000 and say, how many goats are we talking? Let's say
50.
Okay, let's try 50 by the way, and we see how many months it can take. 60 times 12, that is 720 for one goat per year. So we get 150,000. 150, that is 150 tons. 150 tons divided by 720. 720, it gives us 208. Now, it means you can actually have around 200 goats feeding. But remember, there are elements of wastage on that one.
And there's also an element of just zero grazing.
Yes, because remember, you're going to cut this grass and you come and feed them in-house. You chop small pieces, but not all of it, by the way, will be consumed. You know, goats are notorious pickers. They like to, when you put everything together, they like wasting so much. So let's say that even if you have 50 goats, you are going to comfortably look after them properly. Once you have 1 acre, you've planted it as a super napier to harvest, chopping daily and serving them. And then the other half acre, you plant, let's say, Chloris Guyana, which you always harvest after, let's say, 2 months. The first round, you wait for 3 months. Then you harvest the grass. Then after that, you take between 45 to 60 days for another round of cutting. You see? But an acre of Chloris Guyana in a year will give you 10 tons. But that is now dry grass. So you supplement. You can decide to say you're going to give 1.5 kilograms of the fresh and then 0.5 kilogram of the dry one. And they eat. So you can imagine what you can do on 1 acre piece of land. You can still raise. The only challenge when you're doing zero grazing, it's not advisable to start with the local goats like I have done because their food conversion ratio is so poor. They don't convert the pastures into muscle quite easily. It takes them a long time.
The local goat.
Yes, but the hybrids, these ones, if you have, say, those ones which are superior, say 75%, 87%, you'll find that the grass conversion rate is very high. It can actually do up to around 250 grams per day. So when you see a goat is putting on waste and growing very fast, remember, as you can do, of course, you have to continue doing the right, practices. You deworm after maybe 2 months, depending. You spray weekly, but this will change. Remember, because if you're doing zero grazing, there is limited interaction with the outside community and the goats. So you'll find that you hardly have, ticks on your farm. You might find yourself actually not even spraying weekly. You might say maybe twice in a month, just to make sure that you're eliminating any chances of that. Maybe to make sure that you don't have fleas. If underground it's dry and fleas are originating from there, that will be now the other challenges. So you must start with goats of a certain, pedigree or blood percentage that is high. Then it will make business sense. But you might say, okay, that is expensive to buy, because one, you find yourself parting with around 700, 800,000 for a mother goat, which is of maybe 75% bloodline. So even if you have 10 of those, and say they give birth after 5 months, you'll find yourself with around 20, 15 to 20 goat kids. In 6 months, that one, remember, if you have 100% Boer goat, and then you also have 75% goat mother, it will give you a child or a kid that is 87% blood percentage. Now, because this one is 75, the other one is 100, you combine both and divide by 2, it will give you 87. That's how we calculate. So you'll find that in 6 to 8 months, that if you can see this one of 50% is growing at that rate, you can imagine the other one of 87%. So in 6 to 8 months, you'll be able to sell off if you want. And the minimum will be 800,000 per goat. So you can imagine even on an acre, you can actually do wonders on a particular, and then you can start to source. By the way, if you have like 2 acres, maybe you might have another 2 acres elsewhere. You can use those ones to plant pastures. Then just harvest and put them in one, barn there. You can either cut this super napier or sugar grass. There are different types that are very bulky, but they are mainly good for silage or cutting fresh and feed them because of high water content. But the other ones, like Chloris Guyana, alfalfa is one of the best if you want to harvest it as hay, and then you can be able to feed your animals. You'll be surprised at the rate of conversion that they will be having, but also, you know, how beautiful your goat will be. Remember, they are sleeping in a raised structure and they can be able to survive adequately. Actually, one of the things we are promoting on this farm, we want to start building people raised goat structures, because we realize that people out there in the diaspora, Ugandans who are out there who want to come, some don't know where to start from. I'm telling them, for those who can afford, they can start with 10 acres, if you can buy that land, and then you can put between 150 to 200 goat mothers. And every 6 months you'll have at least between 200 to 250 goat kids. So imagine every 6 months if you decide you want to be selling off. And by the way, when I tell you 150, 200 goat mothers, the 10 acres are very, very sufficient to even feed the offspring for the 6 to 8 months.
Before you can sell
Then you
them
sell off, then you retain the mothers. Remember, you've got, but you need to have goats which are at least 75% and above bloodline. Meaning, if you have 100% Boer goats and it gives a child of 87%, even when you're selling to another person who's going to start as a breeder, minimum you're going to sell that goat is 800,000. So imagine 800 times, let's say 150 in a year, and yet you are going to go to give birth twice in 13 months. In 13 months, you can imagine what you can do. The only bit is that it's going to be a little bit costly at the beginning. You have to put up a raised goat structure. You have to plant the pastures, meaning you buy the right seed and make sure you plant. Then you start harvesting, and then affording to buy these goat mothers. I told you he got 100%. There are many available in Uganda in different farms. For it goes for 3 million shillings. Then these other ones, you find them at 800, 1 million, depending on the farms and the quality of goats. And
the seeds for the feed, where do you buy them from?
there are some in Container Village, but we are also in touch with other very good farmers out there that have specialized in only pasture management and multiplication. Whether you want to buy hay, whether you want to buy silage, whether you want to buy seed, they do that. And for us, that's one thing I'm trying to tell the public out there. People have been conned of their money so much. People have lost interest. They send money for people to buy them land, and somebody either puts a price which is abnormal just because the other person is unsuspecting, and the person gets demoralized. And when they start goat farming, you find they are putting management which is so weak. That's another challenge. But for us, we are out here to be able to change that narrative.
So do you have like let me say, okay, let me say I have someone watching from the diaspora, maybe it's a Ugandan or a Black American who is willing, wanting like to relocate to Uganda, because they always write to me, and they want someone to help them first look for the land itself to start the goat farming. Are you able to do that for someone who has no one at all and is going to rely on you 100%?
Okay. I've told you I'm already developing some clips. We want to be able to help people to access land in Uganda. Now, we to buy land and then you start up. I've also told you we have also started supporting people to build standard goat structures. So depending on one's availability and source of fund and means of funds. Now, if you're somebody who's non-Ugandan, I think I see people owning land when they're non-Ugandans. I don't know
they can lease.
But
99 years.
you can lease land, you can rent land, and then we can help you set up. Even acquiring, if you want land to lease, you can reach out to me. If you want land to buy, if you want land to rent, that's when I can help. But provided it's in a geographical location where I feel I am comfortable to go and do the preliminary investigations and so forth, to make sure that you have a very good landing. I normally prefer people to get in touch when they know that they're left with 1 month to come. Because you'll not tell me you want to buy a piece of land and you're coming in 6 months. There's no way I can start off that exercise. I can only start when you're 1 month to come, because people are not waiting for you to sell off. Another person who comes will buy off a piece of land. Even renting and so forth. I prefer, once we agree and we discuss on the modalities on how I do, that bit, I can be able to help them and also help them plant the pastures. But of course, it will mean identifying some workers, putting up a structure for the workers to be there. Remember, this is a business where you have to have residents on the farm. Something is happening. this is an animal with life, and life, you know, there are illnesses and so forth. Somebody should be able to wake up at night and see what's happening.
Yeah.
If there are red ants attacking the animals, being able to be present.
So about the workers, do you get people with, like, let me say, when you get a man, does he come with his family and they settle there? And are you the one who provide food? Like, how
So-
do you do it?
So now, for me, as me, I normally source my workers from around, but also from distant places. That is for my farm, particular farm. But these other people, we normally encourage them to look for people if you're starting, because you'll find that if they are Ugandan, they have their own contacts and they can be able to have their own trusted people. I can provide the consultancy bit where I can be able to come either after 2 weeks, every 2 weeks or 1 month, to look at the situation and then advise on some corrective measures that can be done on your particular farm if you want to be able to do it. But if you want us to also manage your farm entirely, there are other companies I can get in touch with that are able to provide specific manpower for animal, you know, management. And then you start on a good note. Remember, you're injecting, as I told you, if you're going to do zero grazing, it's quite costly. You have injected in your money to buy the land or lease the land. You've injected in the money to set up the structure. And each goat is costing around 800,000 plus the he-goat of 3 million, depending on the herd. If you have 100, that means you have 2 to 3 he-goats, because then you want them to be very active in concluding the exercise.
Maybe you better tell them in dollars. You know, when you're talking, so 3 million is like about $900.
$900.
Around
Then
$900.
US dollars.
Then 800 is like about 250.
Normally, if they have internet, they can Google and say Ugandan shillings into the dollar, and they can, because the exchange rate keeps on, you know, fluctuating, but it's around
Yes,
that, okay,
roughly.
to give them a picture. And so whenever they are ready, they can always get in touch on my YouTube channel
Yeah.
as well.
So I'll put the link for his channel in the description and even on the screen here. That's his channel. Please go and watch more about the farm. And what else do you do on your YouTube?
Basically, we talk about animal production and then crop mixed farming. And then we are also developing videos encouraging people that want to access land in Uganda.
And you have been asking me, guys, you've been asking me
And
about
then those that
and-
would like to set up goat farms, building goat structures, we are going to be doing that. And so we are encouraging people out there. Whether you want to buy land, you want to lease land, you want to source goats. I don't have goats to sell you, but I know,
You know people who can
reputable
sell.
farms that can give you goats. The one that I can, you know, bet my name on. Because remember, I'm here and I'm here to stay. I want 10 years or even 1 year. You can start, you know, flashing back, and then you say you're happy because I supported you. And I'm sure other people will also be looking at what you've done. They'll be asking how you started, and you're able to refer some other members.
Yeah.
Yes.
So guys, anyway, Mr. Arthur, that was it for the goats. Thank you very much for hosting us here.
Yes,
And
please.
thank you for the great work. So for my subscribers, guys, go and subscribe to his channel for more videos about the goats and how you can gain from rearing goats. See you in the next video. Bye.